Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. So today we begin with another week, which is the emotional week of Pisces. And perhaps we could have been waiting for something different to begin the emotional week of Pisces than the void, but let's see why. So let's see this from the point of view of archetypes, not about the people that is of one sign or another. No, we will just speak about archetypes, okay? So from the point of view of a Taurus, for example, the void would be not having anything. From the point of view of a Scorpio, the void would be to go to the deeper part of a soul, to the darkest part of the soul. From the point of view of a Virgo, it would be entropy. There's no order. From the point of view of a Capricorn, there is no purpose. And so on. But from the point of view of Pisces, that's the real void. Because all the other voids would be just from the point of view of aspects of that whole. When for the Pisces is the void of all. So for Pisces, the key in which we all know Pisces is empathy. Empathy is the key for Pisces. So we have to, even if we are going to talk about empathy in another moment, the concept of understanding the concept of empathy is the one that will help us to understand why the void of Pisces is the real bigger void. So, first of all, let's try to understand what is empathy. Empathy comes from the Greek word en, that means to be in, and pathos, that means disease, pain, conflict. So, like pathology, for example, pathologic. So, empathy means to be in pain, to be in the same harm, to be inside that conflict or that disease. So, we describe today empathy as the ability of someone of being able to put itself in the pain of the other one, that can be inside the pain of the other one and to feel what the other one is feeling. So the concept of empathy is something that is saying, that the brain is saying, hey, like for example, something is happening, someone is having some pain, some conflict, and you can feel that in your body, like someone is hurt and you feel that hurt, that how it hurts within. And that happens because your body, your mind is programmed to survive. So when it sees some pain, the brain says, alert, alert, we need to protect ourselves. So the reaction of the brain is to make the same pain so we can feel it and we can protect ourselves. just to make it a little bit comic, maybe, is that same situation that for sure many men have felt when you see someone kicking the balls of someone else, and suddenly it doesn't matter if it's through TV, through the internet, your balls hurt too. Empathy. So this goes a little bit much more in the psychological aspect. When you see someone crying, for example, some people start to cry too. And this feeling is because the brain is all the time trying to understand what is happening outside, not what is happening within. It's trying to analyze all the time what is happening out there in order to perceive it, to integrate that information. So that's the moment when the brain says, should I cry too? So it turns everything to cry. So the body starts to react to that. We call that empathy. So eventually, through many years of using this concept, we stop using it just for pain, and the concept of empathy became something that could explain people that can feel what others are feeling. It doesn't matter if it's not pain, just feelings. So, as I was saying, the empathy in the contemporary time, we stop using the empathy as something describing the pain, and we started to explain empathy like the one that can be feeling exactly the same as the other, being one with the other, which is very different from sympathy. We have empathy, which is to be together as one, like not together, like feeling exactly what the other person is feeling, and sympathy, that means to be with someone that is in hurt, in pain. Sim comes from the Greek word that means with. So with the one that is in pain. So having sympathy is that you can be aside the person that is crying or in pain, but you don't feel that. You cannot feel it. You just smile, you are fine, but you are there with the other person, accompany that person. Okay, that's sympathy, but not empathy. Okay. So we can say, for example, that a Gemini person and a Librian person, they are sympathetic people. But a Pisces person and a Scorpio person, they would be empathic people. Okay? The Cancer people, they are empathic. That's it. So they start to suffer before the others can suffer. It's a joke, but it's kind of like that. So Scorpio and Pisces are very empathic, but Scorpio will be empathic mostly to go deeper into that empathy, to know how to use it in its own benefit. Kind of like that. So it will take something from that empathy. Pisces, in the contrary, will go into that empathy to set the other being free, and everyone free and expand, so we can heal the pathology. So as the other people in the other signs, they are empathic with different parts. Pisces is empathic with all the humans as equal. The plants, the animals, the minerals, the everything. So Pisces will be open to feel, to perceive what is happening even to a plant and to the whole planet. So this means that when Pisces starts to feel the planet and then the galaxy and then the cosmos, and starts to connect with the void of everything, with the emptiness of the entire universe, in the same time that the other beings, the other archetypes will be feeling, perceiving their own way of the void, Pisces will be feeling the void of everyone. Regarding this, we have to understand that for us, for humans, the circle of the zodiac sign ends in Pisces. And this means that Pisces is the one that gives the basis to begin a new cycle. So the month of Pisces, it is the last step, but also the one that guides towards the first one. So this means that the spark of Aries won't be able to ignite unless Pisces does its job. Imagine what would happen if the path of the I Am would really end in Pisces, in this expanded void of unconditionality, in the spirituality. What after that? What do we do? Because the next 4 months will be the ones to manifest a new thing. And we are not going to be able to manifest anything new if we don't transcend all the things that we have to do in Pisces. This is why we have to go through the dark night of the soul of Pisces before we can ignite Pisces. So that's why, in order to begin something new, we have to go to this very void, the void of Pisces, which is really nothing, is the empathic void. Is the biggest void you can imagine. the end of all forms and expectations. So let's try to explain a void that usually every one of us that is in a spiritual path are trying to avoid. Let's try to explain it. So I was explaining in the blog today that we as humans, we live in the third dimension. So we live through the height, the weight, and the depth. That in a moral way, we call the good, the bad, and the sense. So now this height and weight are designed by our biology as good and bad. Simple, because from biology, we were designed to move forward, looking ahead. So that's why we think that the future, everything that is coming, the good things are coming there in front, and all the bad things, we are trying to leave it behind. So that's why biologically we were designed to understand that the good is in front and the bad is behind. So in such a way, we are organizing our morality according to how we move in our environment. From there, we have many other topics to discuss, but just take that seat and someday we will go deeper into this. And then we have the depth in the third dimension. The depth is the sense of things, not only related to the sensibility of things, but is related to the concept that we move as we sense, as we feel. So, so we are moving ahead, creating senses. So sense of life, the sense of a road, the sense of a path. We are going towards a sense of meaning of something. So we as humans in the third dimension, we may say that the sense of our lives is marked by the good and the bad. And that's a vision from the third dimension. So when we get into the fourth dimension, the sense of life, life, meaning where I am heading to, where the sense is moving to, is different. In the fourth dimension, it can be backwards, and even though you will be going to the future. So the sense of all things, they transform. They are not the same. So when you go to the fifth dimension and the sixth dimension, suddenly there are more senses, more directions, many directions. So all around, going everywhere, suddenly you don't have one sense on life, you have thousands, and each one of them is transforming itself in many others. So eventually, too much. So that's when you say, wow, in the fifth and the sixth dimension, everything has so much meaning. And yes, it has so much meaning because everything has meaning, which is a sense of life, a direction. So as farther you go in the dimensions, you suddenly see that there are so many senses, so many meanings. that suddenly we say, oh, none of them is the real one. There's no really sense, no really meaning. So the crisis to the void comes in the moment when you see that everything has so much sense that suddenly it doesn't have a correct direction. So you lose the sense, and suddenly you realize that there is no sense, that there's only void, because nothing really makes sense. This is why this happens only in the last point, in the last moment of the whole path, because Pisces is the last one. So this means that Pisces had gone through the other ones, the other 11. So from Pisces have gone through Aries, Taurus, Gemini, all of them. So it recognizes, it can be each one of them, position itself empathically in each one of the others. So that's why it can feel the void of each one of them, the path, the senses of all of them, and recognize that all together, they don't have any sense. They had so much sense that there is no direction to go. So what happened here is that when you take a dot or a sphere with many different paths, many different senses, directions, and you suddenly see that each one of the directions are heading to a core in the dot or towards the sphere, and there is all the senses going to the same spot, suddenly you realize that there's no sense because there's no direction. There's no specific point to where they are heading to. So that takes the idea of the sense. The concept of the sense ends. So this means that all the things that we have been doing, feeling, believing, projecting, all of it doesn't really have any sense. And here comes this concept that for sure you have heard once, which is the nihilism. Nihilism, which was really loved by Nietzsche. Nihilism comes from the word nihil, that means nothing. And nihilism describes that nothing has really sense, that there is no meaning in anything that we do. Psychologically, this comes from the concept that humans are trying to give a meaning, a sense to all the things that they really doesn't have a sense by itself. So, as I was saying about the nihilism, the basis of this belief, of this perception that there is nothing, that we give a meaning, comes from the idea of the pareidolia. The pareidolia is a function of our brain that helped us survive through thousands, billions of years as we were evolving in this planet. I don't know if you have heard about the term, but pareidolia comes from para, that means against to, and eidolon, that means shape, or shape, figure. So this is something that our brain was used to do, which is to decode images and to put those images everywhere so the brain can figure the space where they are moving. Like, for example, a baby, when the baby is born, can see the face of the mother and the dad, and the brain captures that image so the baby can understand what is the face of a human. So the brain will try to look to eyes, nose, and trying to shape the face of a person, and it will try to look for it everywhere so it feels safe with people. So that's why you can see faces everywhere in stuff that they are not human. Or, for example, the brain was also designed to see the eyes of predators, so you can see it everywhere, and you can be aware of how to protect you in case of a being, that is trying to kill you. So the pareidolia is this biological design in our brain that helps us to identify faces and shapes in the objects and the things that they are not there. So now, two other words come from this idea, this word pareidolia. Eidolon, from pareidolia, eidolon, means image, form. So there are two words from eidolon. One is idea. Idea is a shape, a form, and the other one is idol. Two words that come from there. So an idea and an idol. What is an idol? A figure that we follow, that we try to be like. So the idea and the idol came together to create the image of God, of someone that we admire, an idol that we are trying to get to because of an idea that makes us feel safe. So pareidolia is the concept that helped humans to create spirituality, religion, that made the idea of gods, goddess, beings around, angels, archangels with human shape. So this pareidolia idea makes the nihilism take much more power. Why? Because suddenly we can explain through the pareidolia that all the things in which we believe, all the things that we project out there, they doesn't exist. They are just projections of our mind trying to look for figures that makes us feel safe. And now let's try to understand it from the physics. So from the point of view of physics, we can see here a body. We see here is a physical body. But really, what happens is that all this matter is made with atoms that are so tiny that when you try to measure the distance in between the subatomic particles like electrons, neutrons, protons, you see so much space in between that suddenly you realize that the most of it is vacuum, is void. So now, just to understand the size of the things, in comparison to our reality, so we can see it. Imagine that a proton is like a tennis ball, for example, a tennis ball. And we put that tennis ball in the middle of a great big football field, okay? And you put it in the middle there. So you can picture the size of a football yard. And then you put a tiny glass ball like this, tiny, outside the stadium, at the door of the stadium. Okay, so that's the distance in between the two particles. In the middle, there's nothing. So we can say that the 99.9% of the reality is void, and just the 0.001% is matter. So basically, all the things that we perceive is just 99% void and 0.001 matter, nothing. So what are we really? We are a cosmic pareidolia. From the point of view of physics, we are nothing. From the point of view of psychology, we are nothing. So it's really weird to understand then, why do we exist? Why are we here? Why are we doing this here, speaking? So we are here and we exist here because the void is freedom. Is the biggest freedom that you could possibly imagine. There is no words in any human language to describe how it is to feel that, how it is to be that void, to feel that eternity, to feel so fully plain aware of that freedom. And because we are so bounded to our beliefs, so slaves of our feelings, so attached to the physical history of our evolution, physical evolution, we are so attached to all those concepts that when we are trying to understand or feel the real freedom, we perceive it as a nonsense. Because there is nothing in our history of evolution that can explain how it feels, how fully you feel in that freedom. And we cannot even describe it as the biggest freedom, because when we speak about freedom, is like saying, I have to escape a place in order to set myself free, to go from one place to another in order to be. And in Latin, that you may say existence. So in order to exist, you have to escape from a place. So it doesn't describe the void. Our entire being was designed to hold the life, to hold the everything. That is why it's so difficult for us to let go towards the nothing. So when we realize about this, it doesn't mean that we have to leave behind all the things that we believe, all the things that we felt, feel, do. When we realize about this is when you understand that everything is a pareidolia. That everything is a pareidolia of the existence, is a pareidolia of God, whatever you want to call it. We are an idea, an image manifested. So an angel, an archangel, an ascended master, they doesn't exist. They are not real. But not because they doesn't exist. Only them and I do exist. No, they doesn't exist because me neither. We doesn't exist neither. We are just an idea. The reason why I'm describing this existential void that we are trying to leave is because through this void is the only way in which we can give a meaning to all the things that exist. This is what we call a conceptual detox. A conceptual detox means that in order to create a new reality, I need to detox myself from the concepts, from the previous concepts of my life. So let's make a human example about this detox. For example, when you start a diet, the first thing that everyone will say to leave behind will be sugar. You need to leave sugar behind. You shouldn't eat any more sugar. Okay, so you stop eating sugar so your body can clean up, can purge, and feel better, much more energetic with your own energy to do much things and so on. You feel clean, you lose weight. Okay, perfect. So you had to leave the sugar in order to feel better, to make a new aspect of yourself. But the question is here, did the sugar stop existing because I stopped eating it? And most of all, if there is a birthday or someone invite me a chocolate, I will deny it, or will I take some of it? I will enjoy it anyway, or I will say, no, sugar doesn't exist. How do you take it? How do you take the diet? So, for example, when you start to, in this chocolate example, the body eats it because it needs to fill up a gap, to fill up a void. So it's attached to the thing. It needs it. And then when you say, I can't eat it anymore, that's an addiction. When you grab and eat and have things or do things that you don't know what would happen if you stop it, that's an addiction. So when you definitely decide to stop, for sure some people will feel depressed, will feel like a void inside, like, what is happening to me? I am feeling so sad. So why? Because the body is trying to fill up that void that you are feeling. You know? So that's an addiction. So when you feel sad or bad, in a depression, feeling that void, it means that whatever you had before was an addiction. It was not real. It was an addiction. All addictions are based in things that are trying to fill the gaps of something that I am not being able to do it by myself. So sometimes we have these people that when they are in this kind of diets, saying, living the chocolate, living the sugar, these people start to say, some people start to say, to blame the sugar. So the sugar is the problem. The sugar was the bad thing. So blame the sugar. And they start to say, I don't want sugar. And if everyone is eating sugar, you shouldn't eat that. That's poison. That's horrible. Throw that away. I don't want to see it. Do you know people that does the same, not only with chocolate, that does the same with religion, for example? They were in a religion and suddenly religion is shit, is a poison. It doesn't believe, it's not real, it's all bullshit, it's terrible, take it away. I don't want to know anything about it. So we can see here that many people is blaming the things that they were attached to, when the ones that were taking those things were themselves. The sugar is there, the religion is there. So me being in a diet, not eating chocolate, it doesn't make chocolate and sugar disappear of the entire existence. It doesn't make that it doesn't really exist. is there. It's just that I am not eating that anymore in my diet. I'm cleaning up myself, but the chocolate is there. And why cannot share sugar, chocolate with friends sometimes? And that's it. I can do it. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. So when we discover this existential void, the nihilism of the entire universe, it doesn't mean that you had to stop believing on the other things or that nothing really is there. What it means is that I am not attached anymore to those concepts. That is me who I decide to live them. It's me who I decide to enjoy them. Everything is an idea, and the only thing that nourishes an idea is my will. So I invite you this week to activate that will of detox of all these concepts. So we can really activate the unconditionality of Pisces. So we cannot be unconditional beings having preconcepts. This is why Pisces is inviting us to detox all the preconcepts in order to really be unconditionally empathic. So for example, in my vision, like a Leo person, my existential void would be to say, I am not important. I am not doing anything great. It doesn't matter how great it is what I do in my life. It doesn't have any meaning. It doesn't matter. So for me, it's like I have been 12,000 years doing all this. I have a background and a story that tell me what to do, that I am doing this because of what I did before, that I have a goal, that all my past lives, guides, masters, interdimensional beings, aliens, everyone is telling me what to do, and I have so many things to do, and prove that what I am doing is so important. But also there is this future voice that tells me the only way in which you will realize that this is important is if you remember that all of that took you here is not important anymore. that it doesn't matter. And when I went through all this process of myself, I realized that all the people that I have been, all the beings that I hear from the past, from other dimensions, everywhere, aliens, and that tells me what to do, is really aspects of myself in different dimensions. So it is me telling to me what to do. So it's there when I understood that it's not that there's these beings in different times and spaces, they doesn't exist. It means that it was me, myself, who pushed them to exist in order to tell me that I am important. Because if all those beings that I pushed wouldn't have told me that I am important, I wouldn't have done anything that I did. So it is in that moment that I recognize that all those beings really exist. And it was through the void that I got that all of them, as myself, are telling me what to do, but because I am the one choosing to do it. So this is why I did the experience that I'm telling to you now, sharing to you now, because I went through the experience of void to eliminate all these preconcepts, so I can now say I am not important. I am really not important. So that's why I choose to be important. And that's why the entire universe pushed me to be so. That's the key of void. I know that there are many concepts, but it doesn't matter if you don't get it now, you will eventually. And you have it here on YouTube, so whenever you want. So I know that some people is new and making some questions that I don't answer because I already did in other videos. So there's no rush. You can check the other 220 videos. Let's go to the alignment. The vibration for today is Pa. The statement for today is I am spiritual will. The code for today is power. Power or to can. When it feels unfeeling, on feeling, the cosmos is able to recognize what it's capable of, recognizes its inner potential, the energy that has, the forces that originate from its being, and thus the potency emerges. The vibration generates energy just like the movement generates emotions, and from energy the inertia originates. That the greater potency leads to an unconscious action that by becoming conscious with the practice takes control of the energy and focalizes the potency, calling it power. Thus, to Kant, the power is the attribute of conscious management of emotional energy. So I was just laughing because it's like like I'm working here for spirituality and at the same time I'm destroying it at all. So it's funny that we start the emotional week of Pisces and suddenly everything is like, instead of magic, beauty and love, we begin with this destroying all of that. So anyway, so just this, the reason why it's important to see the nihilism of this spirituality is so in the moment when we see a fairy, when we see an angel, we can deeply see it, fully understand what it means, instead of just living it from the previous concepts. So from this point of view, there is nothing there. So even if we see a demon or an angel, good or bad, they don't really exist. It doesn't matter. We will see the code of it, the code behind that image. Not only a demon or an angel, but also a person. You will see the codes behind it, the idea that holds. That's the point. We close our eyes and concentrate in the breathing. Take a deep breath and try to perceive the heat and the cold of your body, the energy that is within it. Feel the energy moving around, outside and inside, like clouds, like the waves in a sea. I recognize that this heat, this energy, is the flow of all the magnetical fields that hold the atoms of my body. The energy that is being expanded from the particles in its constant movement, dancing as the waves throughout my body. And I recognize that this flow of energy and movement is what I recognize as emotion. I become aware of the emotions that I can feel right now throughout my body, flowing, the ones that are present in me. And I set the intention to bring all this flow of energy and emotions to the core of my body, to the inner aspect of myself, to my soul. As I take deep breath, I feel the energy of all these atoms and particles being absorbed by this black hole inside of my being. Take a deep breath and make this black hole explode with all its energy and power, making all your entire body explode, dissolving every molecule, atom, particles, extending all what you were around the cosmos, dissolving what you are. Recognizing all the pieces, like after an explosion of a sun, of a star, becoming aware that you were really nothing, that you are void. And all those particles were shaping the idea that holds the nothingness that I am and you are. all the beliefs that I had, all the feelings that I felt, all the actions that I took were just an idea, a shape, an image holding the nothing that I am. I am just a conjunction of concepts. And is this why becoming conscious, I can create myself again from a new concept? So I start to take a deep breath, bringing all these molecules, atoms, particles towards me again, but this time organizing them according to the concepts, the new ones, the new idea of myself. I create my new concept of who I am as I shape my body again. Is the emotion, the soul, the one that allows this idea to manifest. Is in this way how I recognize that my entire existence is just my will to be. I am spiritual will. I am spiritual will. I am spiritual will. I am the nothing. I am the everything. I believe in me. I believe in me. I believe in me. Take a deep breath and start to expand this energy, this awareness through the soul, through the energy of the body, moving the body, expanding it here and now. And I smile to this nothing and to this everything that I am. Thank you everybody for being here as always, and see you tomorrow at the same time.